Buckle up, folks,
Yeah.
because today we're going dep on something pretty wild.
Wild good or wild scary?
That's what we're here to find out, right?
Oh, sorry.
We're diving into this essay by Dario Amodei.
Oh,
And, you know, he's the CEO of Anthropic.
right. The AI safety company.
Exactly. And usually hear him talking about, like, all the risks of AI.
Yeah, he's definitely known for that.
But this essay is kind of a flip of the script.
Oh, how so?
He's basically saying that most of us are, like, seriously underestimating the potential of AI.
Especially in the next, 5 to 10 years, he says.
Yeah, the near future, which makes it even more, well, interesting, I guess.
It's a really fascinating argument, especially coming from him. Instead of doom and gloom, it's all about what he calls the upside of AI.
The upside. I like that.
Right. And he even uses this phrase, a compressed 21st century.
Okay, now that sounds a little science fiction-y, to be honest.
It definitely grabs your attention.
How does he even get there? What makes him think AI can achieve all that so quickly?
He starts with this idea of returns to intelligence. Imagine certain problems, he says, are kind of like baking cakes.
Baking cakes. Okay, I'm intrigued.
So picture this. You have more skilled bakers in the kitchen.
Got it.
They can bake a lot more cakes, obviously, and a lot faster.
Right. Makes sense.
That's the kind of problem where adding more intelligence just leads to huge payoffs.
Ah, so it's not just that AI is smart, but it's about applying that intelligence to the right kinds of problems.
Precisely. Amodei is saying a lot of the challenges we face, curing diseases, solving poverty, even governing more effectively, are those kinds of baking cakes problems.
Well, more intelligence really can move the needle.
And with AI's potential to be super intelligent, well, he thinks we could see solutions much faster than we ever thought possible.
I mean, it's a tantalizing idea, for sure, but I'm sure there are things that could, slow down that progress.
Absolutely. Amodei acknowledges there are limiting factors besides just, raw intelligence.
Like what?
Well, sometimes we're just limited by, the speed of the physical world.
Oh, right, like actually doing experiments and stuff?
Exactly. Running experiments, collecting data, all that takes time, even with AI in the mix.
And some problems are just really complex.
Inherently complex, yeah. And we're also limited by our own human systems.
Bureaucracy, funding, all this.
Exactly. And then there are the laws of physics, some things we just can't change.
So it's not like AI magically solves everything overnight.
It's more like AI shifts the timeline and maybe accelerates things way faster than we'd expect.
A compressed century, like you said.
Exactly. He seems to have a lot of faith in human ingenuity combined with the power of AI.
Okay, so to really illustrate this compressed 21st century, he focuses on 5 key areas.
Yep. Biology and health, neuroscience and the mind, economic development, then there's peace and governance, and even work and meaning.
Okay, let's start with the one that probably grabs everyone's attention. Biology and health.
Always a popular topic.
What's Amodei's take on what happens there?
Get this, he predicts that once we have truly powerful AI,
Like way beyond what we have today.
right, once that happens, we'll see the next 50 to 100 years worth of medical and biological progress happen in just 5 to 10 years.
Well, hold on. Even I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that. That is a huge jump.
It's mind-boggling for sure.
But how can he even justify a prediction like that?
Well, think about it this way. A lot of the really big leaps in medicine, the game changers, came from a handful of truly groundbreaking discoveries.
Like what?
Well, things like CRISPR or mRNA vaccines. These weren't just incremental improvements, they were paradigm shifts.
Right. They changed everything.
Amodei believes AI will be able to find those kinds of game changers much, much faster than we can.
So instead of researchers toiling away for years, even decades, on a single problem,
AI could just blaze through that process.
it's almost like having a whole team of super geniuses working on it 24/7.
That's part of it. But he also says AI can speed up the whole research process, not just the aha moments.
What do you mean?
Imagine AI designing experiments, running simulations, even controlling lab equipment, all at superhuman speed and scale.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this compressed century thing might actually be possible.
It's definitely a bold claim.
But what does this actually mean for, everyday people? What would this kind of world look like?
Well, Amodei lays out some pretty incredible possibilities. We're talking about eliminating most infectious diseases, making cancer a rare occurrence, even eradicating genetic diseases.
So a world without inherited diseases.
It's pretty radical. He also talks about preventing Alzheimer's, finally addressing mental illnesses that are currently, incurable, basically achieving what he calls biological freedom.
Biological freedom. Okay, that sounds kind of vague. What does that even mean practically?
Imagine having a level of control over your own biology that seems like, well, science fiction today.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Choosing your weight, adjusting your physical appearance, even aspects of your reproductive biology, all safely and ethically, of course.
So AI could give us like unprecedented choice and control over our physical selves.
That's the idea.
Okay, that's where things start to get a little unsettling, I guess, even if it's also exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely pushing the boundaries of what we consider possible.
But, let's be practical for a second. Even with these amazing treatments, don't things like clinical trials take forever? Wouldn't that slow things down?
It's a good point, and Amodei addresses that too.
Oh, yeah. What does he say?
He argues that truly effective treatments, they tend to get approved faster, even with all the bureaucracy.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Like, remember the COVID vaccines? They got fast-tracked because they're so clearly effective.
Yeah.
His point is that if AI can develop treatments that are undeniably good, those bureaucratic bottlenecks might actually start to disappear.
So the better the treatments, the faster they get to the people who need them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
AI wouldn't just disrupt the science, but the whole system around it.
No, this is where it gets really wild.
Well, there's more.
Amodei also believes that AI could radically extend human lifespans, potentially to 150 years or even more.
150 years, seriously. That's like longer than some trees live.
It sounds crazy, right?
It does. But he points out that life expectancy basically doubled in the 20th century.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So another doubling, with the help of AI, might not be as outlandish as it seems.
So we're talking about like really cracking the code of aging.
He believes AI can help us unlock the secrets of how our bodies age, allowing us to live much longer and healthier lives.
Okay, let's just pause here for a second and absorb all of this.
That's a lot to take in.
Amodei is saying that in a decade or so, we could be living in a world where most diseases are gone and we're living twice as long.
It's a pretty radical vision.
Mind-blowing, to say the least.
And that's just the start. He thinks these breakthroughs will have huge ripple effects on everything, from economics and politics to how we understand what it means to be human.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm definitely feeling a little overwhelmed right now.
It's a lot to process, for sure. But we've only scratched the surface of Amodei's vision. Next, we need to delve into what he sees happening in neuroscience and the mind.
So from biological freedom to, what was it, cognitive freedom?
Yeah, that's the next frontier.
Let's dive in.
So Amodei thinks, just like with physical health, we're going to see this compressed 21st century play out in neuroscience too.
Okay, so like, if we thought curing cancer was mind-blowing, are we talking about curing depression now, or like even schizophrenia, things like that?
That's exactly what he's getting at.
Wow.
He thinks AI could revolutionize how we understand the brain. So much so that, we see these breakthroughs in mental health that seemed impossible, like a few years ago.
It's hard to even imagine.
Right. He points to a couple of areas where AI could have a massive impact.
Okay, I'm all ears.
One is through insights from what's called AI interpretability.
AI interpretability.
Kind of a mouthful, but it's basically the idea that as we get better at understanding how AI systems work, we might actually learn things about how our own brains function.
So by studying artificial intelligence, we could unlock the secrets of, like, our own intelligence.
That's the idea.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept.
Totally.
The other area Amodei talks about is applying AI's training methods to actually studying the brain.
So, like, how does that work?
Well, right now, AI systems learn by analyzing these massive data sets, right?
Right.
What if we could use those same techniques to understand how our brains develop and learn over time?
Ah, I see. It's like using the tools of AI to kind of create a mirror, reflecting back at us how our own minds work.
That's a great way to put it.
But how does that translate into, like, actual improvements in mental health? Give me some examples, like concrete stuff.
Sure. Amodei thinks we could see cures for mental illnesses that are, right now, considered incurable. Things like schizophrenia, severe depression, even addiction.
Right.
He also thinks AI could help us address structural brain conditions that are now considered, hopeless.
So not just fixing what's broken, but maybe even enhancing our mental capabilities.
That's part of it. He envisions a future where we have, greater control over our minds and our emotions.
Greater control over our minds. That's a big one.
It is.
Like, what does that even look like?
Well, think about being able to manage your anxiety, control your anger, even enhance your focus and creativity. It's like this whole new level of cognitive freedom.
Cognitive freedom. Okay, that's another one of those phrases that's both exciting and a little bit unnerving.
Definitely. It raises a lot of questions.
It does. I mean, it almost sounds like we're talking about designing, like, the perfect human mind.
Well, I don't think that's quite what Amodei has in mind.
Okay.
He's more focused on, like, raising the baseline of human experience.
Raising the baseline.
Yeah, so imagine a world where, people just experience more joy, more creativity, more moments of, like, profound connection with each other.
That's a beautiful thought, actually.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's interesting, this idea that we could use AI to not just, like, fix what's wrong, but actually expand the possibilities of, what it means to be human.
Exactly. I think that's what makes Amodei's vision so compelling. He's not just talking about tech, he's talking about what that tech could mean for our lives, for our relationships, for our sense of self.
It's a really big picture view, for sure.
It is. But let's get back down to earth for a minute, right?
Okay.
We've talked about all this amazing potential curing diseases, living longer, enhancing our minds. It sounds great, but will everyone benefit?
Right. That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. Will AI just widen the gap between, like, the haves and the have-nots?
Yeah. That's something I worry about a lot, to be honest.
It's a valid concern. And it's one that Amodei addresses head on. He's cautiously optimistic that AI can be this powerful tool for addressing poverty and promoting, global equity.
Okay, so he's not naive about the potential downsides.
No, not at all. He recognizes that tech alone isn't enough. Human choices and systems, they play a critical role too.
So it's not just a matter of, like, throwing AI at the problem and expecting it to magically fix everything.
Exactly. He's very clear about that.
Okay, so how does he see AI actually making a difference in, like, developing nations?
He gives some specific examples. One area he highlights is healthcare. Imagine AI-powered systems, optimizing vaccine delivery, eradicating diseases like malaria.
Wow.
Even personalizing treatments based on, like, individual genetic profiles.
So even people in remote areas or people who can't afford, expensive treatments could potentially benefit.
That's the hope.
That's amazing.
He also talks about the potential for AI to accelerate economic growth in these countries.
Oh, yeah. How so?
He uses this intriguing phrase, AI finance ministers.
AI finance ministers. Okay, now I'm really curious.
Right. What does that even mean?
Yeah, is he suggesting we replace human policymakers with, like, algorithms?
It's not quite that drastic. He's envisioning a world where AI could be used to, analyze economic data, identify growth opportunities, and design more effective policies.
So like a supercharged economic advisor, basically.
Exactly. Helping governments make smarter decisions.
So not a replacement for human judgment, but a tool to kind of, like, enhance it.
He thinks even small improvements in economic decision-making, if they're powered by AI, could have a massive impact on developing nations.
That makes sense.
But he also acknowledges the potential downsides, like the impact of automation on jobs in countries that haven't fully industrialized.
Right, because if AI takes over a bunch of jobs, that could be devastating for some countries.
It's a real risk, and it's why Amodei stresses the importance of, human choices, responsible development. We need to think carefully about how to use AI to promote, like, inclusive growth, ensuring that everyone benefits.
So it's about creating opportunities, not just automating existing ones away.
Exactly. And he doesn't just stop at economic development.
Oh, there's more.
He also dives into the potential impact of AI on, peace and governance.
Okay, now we're getting into some really big picture stuff.
Right. AI on the world stage.
Yeah. So what does Amodei think AI will mean for, like, international relations and global stability?
Well, he's pretty clear about his concerns. He sees AI as this powerful tool, one that could be used for good or bad.
Right, like any powerful technology.
Exactly. And he's worried that authoritarian regimes, might try to exploit AI for their own ends.
So AI as a weapon, not just a tool for progress.
It's a very real risk. He's especially concerned about AI being used for things like surveillance, propaganda, even military applications.
All scary stuff.
It is. He argues that democracies need to be prepared for these challenges and work together to make sure AI is used responsibly, on the global stage.
So he's calling for, like, some kind of global alliance to manage the risks of AI.
He even outlines what he calls an entente strategy.
An entente strategy?
Yeah, where democratic nations form a coalition to secure AI resources, scale up development. And potentially even delay access to these resources by, well, adversaries.
It almost sounds like Like a Cold War mentality, but with AI at the center.
It's a recognition that AI is going to have a huge impact on global power dynamics,
For sure.
and that democracies need to be strategic about how they approach it.
But wouldn't that just further divide the world, create some kind of AI arms race?
That's a risk. But Amodei believes that part of this strategy would involve offering to share the benefits of AI with other nations.
So using AI as like a carrot and a stick to promote democracy.
In a way, yeah. He thinks that if we can show that AI can be used to improve lives, to promote prosperity, it could help sway other countries towards a more democratic model.
So it's not just about like dominance, but using AI to kind of build a more stable and democratic world order.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
He also emphasizes the need to address the internal challenges to democracies, like the potential for AI-powered propaganda and surveillance to undermine free speech.
Oh, right, because AI could be used to control people just as easily as it could be used to liberate them. Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
It is. We need to be able to use AI to defend our values, but without compromising those very values in the process.
Amodei sees AI as a tool that can actually strengthen democracies, promoting transparency, accountability, citizen empowerment.
It sounds like he's calling for a kind of digital democracy where technology enhances our freedoms instead of eroding them.
It's a bold vision, definitely not without its challenges, but it highlights the potential for AI to be this force for good in politics and governance, not just science and medicine.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here.
We have.
From curing diseases to, promoting world peace. Amodei is painting a pretty optimistic picture.
He is.
But there's one big question we haven't addressed.
And that is?
If AI can do all this amazing stuff, what's left for us humans to do?
The million-dollar question.
Right. If AI can do everything better, faster, cheaper, what role will humans play in this future? What will give our lives meaning?
Will we become obsolete?
Exactly. Or will we find new ways to contribute, to create, to connect with each other? I think that's what we need to dive into next.
Let's do it. So where do we even begin to answer that? I mean, if AI can potentially solve all these huge problems, what's left for us?
It's a question that comes up a lot,
Yeah.
Like, are we all just going to be sitting around twiddling our thumbs while robots run the world?
Right, exactly.
Amodei actually tackles this question of work and meaning, and I think he does it in a really thoughtful way.
Okay, I'm interested to hear this.
He starts by, reminding us that finding meaning in life doesn't require being the absolute best at something.
That's true.
Most of us aren't the best in the world at anything.
Definitely know it.
But we still find things that give our lives purpose.
Yeah, that's a good point. I enjoy playing guitar, even though I know I'm not, Jimi Hendrix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We find joy in activities even if we know someone, or in this case, something, could theoretically do them better.
Right.
Amodei also points out that a lot of what gives our lives meaning doesn't even have, a direct economic value.
Like what?
Spending time with loved ones, pursuing hobbies, connecting with nature. These things bring us joy, regardless of whether a machine could do them, faster or more efficiently.
Okay, that makes sense. So AI could potentially free us from the grind of work, giving us more time and energy to focus on those things.
That's one way to look at it.
That's a pretty optimistic view.
It is, but let's be realistic for a minute, right?
Right.
Most of us still need to earn a living.
Yeah, sadly, true.
If AI takes over a lot of jobs, how will people survive financially?
Exactly. That's my biggest worry, to be honest.
Amodei explores that too. He thinks in the short term, at least, something called comparative advantage will still apply.
Comparative advantage.
It's kind of an economics term.
Okay.
Basically, even if AI is better at, say, 90% of a job,
Okay.
that remaining 10% that requires human intuition, creativity, or just plain weirdness could become even more valuable.
So humans become more specialized.
Right. Focusing on those uniquely human skills that AI just can't replicate.
Okay, I can see that happening.
But Amodei acknowledges that in the long run, we might need a totally new economic model.
Like what? I can't even imagine.
It's hard to wrap your head around, right?
Yeah, it's if AI can do almost everything, what's left for humans to, get paid for?
That's a huge question. He even throws out some, really out there ideas, like an economy based on woofie points.
Woofie points? What in the world is that?
It's a concept from the science fiction book Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom.
Never heard of it.
It's where, reputation and social capital become a kind of currency.
So, instead of getting paid money, you get, internet points for being a good person.
In a way, yeah. Amodei's suggesting that maybe in a world where AI can produce most of the material goods, those human contributions that are harder to quantify, things like creativity, compassion, community building, those could become the basis of a new economic system.
It's definitely a radical idea. It makes you wonder, like, what would even be valuable in that kind of world?
It really challenges our assumptions about work and value and what it means to contribute to society.
So we've gone from curing diseases to potentially redefining the entire economic system.
Amodei's vision takes us to some pretty unexpected places.
It does, but it's exciting too, right? Like, he's not just laying out a tech roadmap. He's asking us to reimagine what's possible for humanity.
And that's what I find so compelling about his ideas. He's not just predicting the future, he's inviting us to participate in creating it.
He acknowledges that it won't be easy though, right?
Oh, absolutely. There will be disruptions, job losses, a lot of fear and uncertainty.
Definitely.
But he urges us to approach this future with, like, a sense of hope.
Okay, I like that.
And a willingness to embrace the possibilities, even if they seem a little scary at first.
This is not about surrendering to the machines. It's about figuring out how to work with them.
Exactly. How to use AI to create a world that's, better than the one we have now.
So where does all of this leave us? What's the big takeaway you want listeners to walk away with?
If I had to boil it down to one key point, it would be this. The future of AI isn't some predetermined outcome.
It's not like fate set in stone.
Right. It's not about what technology will do to us. It's about what we choose to do with technology.
We have agency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Amodei's essay so important. It's not just a prediction. It's a call to action. It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping this future, whether it's through the choices we make as individuals, the policies we support, even the way we choose to use this tech in our own lives.
So no pressure, everyone. The future is in our hands. But in all seriousness, it is an incredible time to be alive.
It is.
And it's up to us to make sure AI is used to create a future that benefits everyone.
And I think Amodei leaves us with this really powerful thought. He says that this optimistic path, where AI helps us solve our biggest problems and unlock our full potential as a species, it's not just possible. It's perhaps even likely.
Oh, wow. Okay. So he's not just saying it could happen. He's saying it probably will happen.
That's how he sees it. He believes it aligns with, our deepest human values. Fairness, cooperation, a desire for progress.
It's an inspiring thought for sure. It's not just a technological revolution. It's a chance to choose what kind of future we want to create.
And if we can harness those values, those good intentions, maybe we can build a world that's even better than we can imagine today.
It's a challenge worth taking on for sure.
Absolutely.
That's what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating. It's not just about understanding AI. It's about understanding ourselves, our potential, and the choices that are in front of us.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this journey, and until next time, keep diving deep.